This interview is for information only and should not be considered as investment advice or a recommendation to buy shares in the company featured. Welcome to this Stock Box interview.
Joining us today is George Roach, the CEO of Premier African Minerals. Thank you very much as always for your time, George. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you very much indeed, and thanks for yours as well.
Good, no problem. Of course, this is quite a big RNS from reading it this morning. It's quite a milestone point, I would say, for the company that investors and, of course, yourself have been waiting for quite a while. And, you know, just reading it, the quote from the opening line there, the Zulu flotation circuit, which is now running in a continuous state and is producing saleable spodumene concentrate. The process to complete rectification and optimization of the float circuit remains ongoing, and Premier expects continuous and significant improvement in both the flotation grade and the tonnage to follow. So, I mean, is it fair to say that's a significant announcement today, George, that you're now producing saleable spodumene? You must be feeling quite pleased about this.
I'm delighted. I think that it's a huge milestone for the company. It isn't that we haven't been able to produce limited quantities of spodumene to very good grades that we'd previously done, but to have everything operating continuously and to be producing spodumene continuously is the real milestone at the moment. So very happy indeed.
And it's good to hear that it's continuous as well, because those the 24-hour mark we were talking about before. So it's good to hear that you are able to do it continuously. And I do note as well the video that you put out last week, where you did a bit of a tour of the plant. And the first thing that stood out to me was just how white the spodumene bubbles looked in the float cells compared to when I saw them, which was pretty much a year ago, almost to the day actually. So clearly, from a visual point of view, the quality is very different. And I think you said in that video that this is operating as we expected by now in a stable state, and we are now in a position to focus all our energies and attention to the recovery of spodumene and matching the grades that you know are available or have been proven in the laboratory. So, I mean, that was only last week, and today, you know, things seem to have moved on quite quickly. Is that fair to say? I mean, I noticed that you talk about the use of an activator in the spodumene plant that has seen those recoveries increase quite significantly, approaching 90%. So, I mean, in a matter of days from last week, have things sort of really significantly changed on site with the use of this activator?
Mark, things are changing almost on a daily basis. The first use of the activator in the plant was only late last week. The recovery at approximately 90% is in the labs at the moment. Now, to translate that into the plant and to push the plant to the next level of recovery requires some additional energy into the scrubbing and preparation side of the actual spodumene flotation. So right now, what's being recovered is not what we expect to recover, and that's part of the limiting factor at the moment in terms of the production. So we're expecting to see 50 tonne a day at the moment of spodumene. We're expecting to see that on an ongoing increasing basis. Okay. And then with a couple of small additions on the scrubbing circuit, none of which are going to be particularly time-consuming or lengthy or costly or any of those things, we then expect to see this thing right up at its design capacity eventually.
Okay, and at the moment, then you're at 50% of the design capacity as per that RNS there.
I'm at 50% in terms of the feed into the flotation circuit.
Okay.
Of that 50% of the feed into the flotation circuit, we are recovering significantly below the optimum 90%, but sufficient to give us about 50 tonne a day of actual spodumene production. And it's that recovery that will go up, firstly, from what's being fed, and secondly, as we push it to its capacity in terms of going from the 18 to 20 tonne raw feed, as it were, into the spodumene side, up to its full design capacity that we'll see the production levels then go to where we expect.
Okay, so that's the 50% is the feed to the flotation plant, and you are hoping to get that fully sorted. Is that right? In this month, during May, you've got the required pumps that are on site and the civils, so you want to get to 100%. Is that correct by the end of May?
I want to see the recoveries into that 80 to 90% mark, and we will be pushing as hard as we can to get the feed into the spodumene section up to its design capacity. Now, I don't want to rush pushing feed to the design capacity. I know we can work at 50% of it, and we'll ramp it up as we go. I'd love to see all this happen before the end of May. That would be an absolute delight for me. If it's not going to be by the end of May, it's going to be, I believe, in June.
Okay, yeah, but a matter of weeks away, really, to get to where you want to be with it. That design throughput. Okay, I mean, will you be with what you're generating at the moment? Will you be revenue generating before you need to perhaps fund any other upgrades that need to be done, or any other significant costs coming in?
All right, let's deal with when will we be revenue generating. At the moment, we have product at Zulu that is meeting a spec and is capable of being shipped. I'm in Harare right now, and the reason I'm in Harare is to deal with the inspection aspects associated with the export of product. It needs to be inspected. It needs to be approved. We need to deal with all the nitty-gritty in relation to the actual export permits and so on. And that's the main reason for being in Harare right now. So in terms of being able to ship what we have and what we're producing, I want that in place ASAP, and that's what I'm here for. So that deals with that aspect of it. When will we be finally operating in a fully cash flow positive state? That's going to require further throughput, as I've discussed, and I've given an indication of how and when we will be looking to achieve that. This is in a progressive phase at the moment, and I'm hoping that progressive phase is going to be quick.
Okay, good. And in terms of the grade that's coming out, that 4.5 to 6.3% that you said is a sellable grade, is a sellable product. In terms of Canmax, are they happy to buy this quality product?
Let me make a couple of points on this one. At the moment, we're packing in 1-ton bags. Now, eventually, we'll have to go away from a 1-ton bag and into a bulk skip, which is going to be whatever tonnage it's going to be. It depends on rail car and so on. Mm-hmm. When one goes to that kind of packing, you'll be feeding material continuously into whatever the skip is that it's going to be shipped in. And the basis of determining the grade will be on extraction from a continuous sampler that is already installed in the plant. So you won't be looking at this on a 1 bag by 1 bag kind of analysis. Now, as you start up the plant and you produce your first 1 ton, as it were, right now, that grade tends to be lower as the plant goes into its process. At a point in time when you come to shut down the plant, if that's what you're going to do, the last couple of bags will be at a much higher grade. The average grade that one is getting at the moment is better than 4.5, significantly so. So if you average this out across a number of tons, you get to an acceptable grade. And on the basis that this is generally shipped in bulk, that variation of 1 ton bag here to another one there becomes insignificant. It in fact disappears because it's all in one big bulk bin. So from the point of view of a buyer purchasing, one would look at the moment at an averaged grade across X number of bags. If it's 100 tons that's going, you'd look at this, you'd say, well, there's 100 tons. This is the average grade of those 100 tons. when it gets to the processing facility, it all comes out of the bag anyway, and it gets dealt with in bulk. So from that point of view, there is a conversation with Canmax in regard to this. They're fully aware of what we are doing and where we are at the moment. They're also fully aware of the fact that the MAG-SEP, and I think I've made mention of this, is not as effective as it should be. And there is latitude for the next 6 months to deal with that. So there's a very cooperative environment that exists.
Okay.
I might also say that there is strong demand for spodumene from all over the place. There are a number of people who are ready to buy lower grade spodumene. So the selling of spodumene concentrate at the moment is not the concern. I'm more concerned with dealing with technicalities associated with approval of analysis systems, packing, all the export permissions, the logistics, and so on and so forth.
Okay. It's interesting you say selling is not a concern at the moment. I get the impression it is to shareholders who are keen to see that those first shipments go, and of course alleviate any concerns about cash flow coming in, that kind of thing. I mean, have Canmax indicated that their intention to proceed, or not at the moment?
Canmax are delighted that we're in a position where we're producing spodumene.
Okay.
That's at grade, and they are there and they're ready to buy our spodumene.
Okay.
There isn't. I don't know how else to say that there is no shortage of buyers of spodumene. We are committed, absolutely, contractually, morally, and in every way possible to supply to Canmax. That's where my focus is. But I'm just saying that there's a big wide market out there and there's a hell of a lot of demand.
Okay. So there's a lot of demand, but of course your obligation is to Canmax.
Absolutely.
And you said they're on board. So a matter of time, I guess, to wait and see when those first shipments go. I mean, could you give any indication of when you'd like to perhaps see the first trucks arriving? You're in Harare. You've obviously got to wait for the export permits to be granted. But I mean, when would you perhaps like to see that first shipment away?
Tomorrow.
Would be nice.
There's a frank answer to the question. It's going to. I walked out of a meeting with the company that will do the independent analysis earlier.
Yeah.
I need to coordinate that with the importers in China. Those are the processes that I'm involved in right now.
Okay.
The logistics chain is in place. Getting the trucks, getting all of that kind of thing done, that's the easy part. It's a case of getting the analysis and getting all of that agreed in terms of the overall process, getting all the export documentation in place, getting the export permit finalized. That's where we are at the moment. We know what the steps are. We know who's got to agree to X, Y, Z. We know what's got to be done. And that's it. We're going through the procedure at the moment.
Okay. I mean, if you were to hope to get to 100% or, the 80 to 90% recovery by end of May, June, you said, you would hope presumably to have all that in place ready to ship around the same time.
Oh, no. Look, I'm not, I've got no little doubt in my mind that these final bits and pieces that need to be put in place are going to be done very quickly.
Okay.
I believe it's going to be done within days. So I'm not too concerned about that. Now, the moment all of it's through and I understand exactly what documentation MMCZ here wants and so on and so forth, then we can go ahead and start looking at it.
Okay. Well, I want to just talk about some of the elements in the RNS as well. The ore sorters, you said, are not performing the way they were sold to the company. At the minute, are you hand sorting the ore then?
No, I'm not hand sorting either. I mean, the ore sorters are simply, but we've had this conversation, and I've had the conversation with the suppliers. The machines, the suppliers of the machines are actually very competent companies. And they make great equipment and great machinery. In regard to the UV sorter, the box that it's been put into is deficient. And that isn't the manufacturer of the sorters. They didn't make the box. That was made by the original mining contractor. So there were problems there. Plus, I believe that there are better advances on UV sorting from the company that supplied this, and they are very anxious to work with us.
Okay.
As far as the XRT is concerned, XRT sorting works exceptionally well if that is what is properly indicated. In the case of Zulu, based on the original test work that was done in Germany, XRT was not necessarily the best option to sort. And Tomra, who supply XRT, sell it all over the world. It's a magnificent machine. We have one. We used one at RHA with. It's a very effective machine. There's absolutely no problem at all with those. But XRT technology, X-ray technology, was not necessarily the best indicator for this ore body. And in the test work, it was clear originally that there were alternatives that they had that were preferred. So it's in that context that the sorters are not really fit for purpose. In our opinion, I have to say the original supplier is not necessarily in full agreement, but that's a separate issue.
Did the Tomra engineers give any feedback to you?
Yes, directly. And I have a very good relationship with him. There's no problem there at all. There are recommendations as to what we should be doing, and I've had direct feedback from all of these companies. Okay, so just coming into this hand sort. Hand sort is a misnomer, really, because what we are doing is we are being very careful as we develop the pit, and we have a team of geos who are meticulous in identifying the edges of the ore body, identifying where there may be any of this contaminant type waste, and avoiding it in the mining process. So we're not taking it out of the pit to the best extent possible. There's a small sacrifice in pit associated with it. There's a small cost because it's extra people there. Once the ore gets onto the ROM pad, we carefully inspect it again. If there is any waste that is detected there, we will then go in and try and remove it on the ROM pad. But we are not sitting and hand sorting ore item rock by rock. That is not happening. It's not. We don't have to go to that stage at the moment.
Okay. And clearly, what you're doing at the moment is not. You've still got a saleable product, so it's not like it's massively adversely affecting the flow of operations.
Mark, yes, we've got a saleable product. The product will be much better. The overall flows will be better once we have proper ore sorting running up front. We will get a higher spodumene, not that we're getting a bad spodumene content going into the float circuit, but it will be better. So we need it, and we will, and we're doing test work. We're coordinating our own test work on this. And that will change in time, but it's not hampering the operation, and we're not hand sorting at the moment.
And when would you want to have the new ore sorters in place? And is it a concern about upfront costs for that kind of equipment?
Well, there'll obviously be some discussion in relation to cost. I don't really want to go into that one right now. We have our own views in terms of what should have been supplied and so on and so forth. And I don't want to, as I say, I think that's something that needs to be dealt with separately with the various suppliers. Certainly, the two major manufacturers of the equipment are very, very supportive of us and very anxious to help us resolve this.
You also mentioned the MagSep just earlier as well, and the RNS mentioning that it's a low-intensity MagSep and it cannot remove a paramagnetic fraction that would include the tantalum. The magnetic separated circuit is further unable to efficiently remove iron generated from the milling process to an acceptable degree and will need to be upgraded in the future. But again, I'm getting the impression this is obviously not affecting the saleable product, the salability of the actual product that's coming out the end. And it's not that iron content in the ore is high. The iron is coming from as it's going through the mill and almost wearing off. So, I mean, again, it's not. Is it fair to say it's not a major issue, but you want to upgrade it just through the optimizing process?
Mark, it isn't a major issue. Firstly, the ore body contains very little iron, if any. The use of the activator that we are using at the moment and the whole spodumene flotation circuit is an excellent iron collector as well as a spodumene collector. So you have an ore body with effectively no iron in it, very, very low iron. But by the time you've concentrated everything and pulled out the spodumene, together with what little bit of extra iron you might be putting in through the milling process, you are ending up with a percentage Fe2O3 that is above what the specification says. Now, the spec, I believe, is 1.75%. We have latitude to go a little above at the moment. And within the latitude that we've been given, we can produce and we're able to manage. It's worth noting that together with the MagSep, there was a whole separate circuit with a filter press unit and so on associated with it to bag the metallic fraction. But the magnets, the magnetic system is the wrong intensity and it can't do the job. I mean, it's just so that's got to be sorted out. And that's another one of those things that will be resolved and as quickly as we can.
Okay. Just talking about the resource, just briefly, the RNS talking about the indicated resource from the block model is 1.01 Li2O. Well, the average grade that you've hauled to the ROM pad is actually 1.13, representing a 10% increase. I mean, how do you feel about that? That's nice to see that increase, surely.
I think it's actually a bigger increase, but nevertheless, that's my geos are a bit conservative at times. But I'm very pleased about that. I really and truly that. And what particularly pleases me about it is that particular area where that's coming out of, that was the pegmatite from the contact to contact. So it's the complete pegmatite. No high grading of it, whatever. We picked up the whole pegmatite carefully, and that's what we're getting. So that's great news. A, that it's a little above what we felt was in the resource model, and B, that it gives us very good confirmation of the actual geology and mineralization of the ore body. So that to me is great news.
Okay, good. And just a final point from the RNS, you talk about the market for lepidolite and micas improving, and you might look to actually sell this product in the near future. So, I mean, how sort of realistic and how sort of soon could you perhaps look at that option?
Mark, there are samples of this mica lepidolite concentrate that we're producing with people being evaluated at the moment. I've never allowed for any revenue associated with that at all. It's never been part of anything. So anything that comes from that is really, it's over and above. The lepidolite that is being recovered is anything between 2 and 3%. It's obviously not as much as the spodumene, but it is there between 2 and 3%. There is a market for it. And on the basis that the prices have firmed a little, I'm pretty sure that's going to sell.
Okay, good. Well, a few things to sort out to optimize the plant. You've got the sorters to sort out, the MagSep and the milling. We haven't talked about the milling, but in the RNS it was mentioned there's a few things to do there. And of course, the export permits being probably the next big milestone, I would say, for the company. Would you agree that that's the next thing that we could perhaps look out for?
Mark, as I said to you, that's procedural. That's a procedural issue. The big issues that we had with the plant was produce spodumene at the right grade. We're producing spodumene at the right grade. Now what we're doing through the ongoing optimization and so on of this is we're pushing the recoveries up and we're pushing the tonnage of spodumene up. And this is all on an upward spiral at the moment. Okay. So I'm delighted.
Good. Well, that's good to hear, George. And I'm sure in a week or so's time there'll be another update or so on how things are going on. It'll be good to hear from. Looking forward to seeing those export permits granted, and indeed, the first trucks arriving, as I guess you are.
Well, I am. Yes, I am. I just get a bit nervous sometimes of putting out additional RNSs because it doesn't seem to matter how good the news is. It seems to have an opposite effect on the market cap. So that one quite surprises me, but be it as it may.
Well, you get the first shipment away. If the market doesn't like that, then I don't know what the market will like. But thank you very much for your time today, George Roach, CEO, Premier African Minerals.
Thank you indeed, Mark.
If you enjoyed this interview, then give us a thumbs up, a like or a retweet. Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Twitter and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when we release new content. There's loads of great content on our website too, across all our programs at stockboxmedia.com. Thank you for watching.